Director of Uniprint. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. It's morning in the Western North America, and it's in the afternoon in the Eastern time zone. Anyway, if people cannot hear me, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll proceed because I know everybody's busy and I want to start on time and end on time. Hopefully, we have enough time at the end of the day to answer some questions. All right. Today, with me is our system engineer. His name is John Risciuti. John, say hi to everybody. Hello, everybody. So, let me just start. So here's the schedule. Here's what we wanted to talk about in the next 35 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for Q&A. We're going to talk about printing issues, printer driver management, printer management, and all these challenges. And then we want to show you some of the cost savings that Uniprint can bring to your organization using our solution. All right. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit the questions during the presentation, and from time to time, if I see any time opening, I will answer any question together with John as well. Thank you. So the first, we want to talk about the challenges. And people at the audience know about the printer management challenges, especially in a VDI environment. Because as you all know, the printer and the users are all in a different environment, and of course, bandwidth comes into play. And people, when they do VDI and so on and so forth, of course, the end user expect the same speed, or even faster speed in terms of log on, in terms of printing, and so on and so on. And obviously, in a VDI environment, we have some challenges, and we'll talk about those and how we can solve that. And the other one is, of course, manageability. So, how do you manage printers, especially in a larger organization with thousands of printers? I even heard one time that, I don't know what the audience in terms of number of printers per users. Usually you expect 1-to-1, but I heard one time I talked to an end user at a trade show. They have 600 users and 800 printers. Amazing. We also talk about support of any make or model of printers, and obviously the last one, how easy is it? How easy is it for Uniprint to set up, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I wanted to turn it over to John now and let John talk about his environment and talk about the solution.
Okay, thank you, David. So let's have a look at a typical network diagram which illustrates different deployment scenarios customers are facing today. In a data center, we have our typical Citrix Zen Desktop or VMware View infrastructure. Next, we start off with a private cloud here, where you have your typical home users, where they have locally connected printers. Then we have a slightly larger branch with a mix of local and network printers. And in this scenario, we can use our print stream compression, which I'll illustrate to you a little bit later in next slides. Next, we scale out to a larger office with remote local servers, such as print servers. And in addition to the infrastructure at the head office, in this scenario, it's recommended to use our print server technology. And now let's look at the growing use cases of public cloud offerings where users connect to VDI infrastructures with their own devices from small offices and public cloud deployments and slightly larger offices. And finally, we have the option to spread our services across multiple data centers for redundancy. Let's just go there. Okay. Next, so I'm going to give you a little overview of the different mechanisms now that we have to get jobs printed from the data center to the remote sites. Okay. So let's look at our first typical deployment scenario. Okay. This is where users are on a remote small office or working from home offices, and where they're using a WAN or VPN connection to application servers. which can be Citrix Farm or VDI hosted servers in the data centers. And printers are generally locally connected to the PC or by IP printing. Okay. So to allow users to print remotely, the administrator in this scenario only needs to install the Uniprint universal driver on the application server. So this will offload all the native drivers from the application server, and users will simply need to install a client on their desktop. Okay. And in our second deployment scenario, we have a larger number of clients we are offloading the printing to print servers, and we have a client-less environment. So this is typically a setup where we want to use thin clients and not install any software on those thin clients. We install a universal printer driver on the VDI desktops, and this time print jobs get sent directly to the print server, encrypted over the network and compressed as PDF files. This typical deployment enables us to use, again, thin clients or zero clients. Okay. And the last scenario, the final deployment scenario I'd like to show you here is where we can attempt to remove print servers from suitable size office by introducing our print stream compression technology. So by introducing a centralized print server model here, the challenge that presents itself is sending raw print spool data to the remote site. Okay, we can overcome this by introducing our print stream compression technology and compressing the data by 25%. In order to accomplish this, we have an appliance that we call a VPAD, and this VPAD is a hardened appliance that requires very little administration and can carry print jobs over slow links, even raw internet connections. Okay, so next I'm going to get into a quick little demo so I can show you the PDF compression and how we print using our first deployment scenario, which we call client server. Okay. Okay, so let me just quickly tell you about this little test lab I have set up here. Okay, I have a Windows 7 workstation, and on this workstation I'm going to set up a remote session to a terminal server. Okay, other servers I have running, I have a spool server that we call our bridge server. Okay, and for the second piece of the demo, I have a print server, a typical Windows print server that we install our print server software on top of. Okay. So let me get back to my Windows 7 client. On my Windows 7 client, I have a Uniprint client installed. And we're currently at version 5.2, sorry. So I'm connecting to a remote terminal server here for this example, and I'm going to offload my printing to a printer called Uniprint. Okay. Open up the test document and send a print job. Okay, select the Uniprint printer and hit print. Now I have a preview set up to come up on my client here just so I can illustrate the compression. Okay, so I'll use this preview to save that print job as a PDF document. Okay, and I'll just go into my documents here and show you that document. So this is what we've done. We've converted that print job into a PDF, taken that document over the virtual channel, and brought it over to our Windows 7 client in this example. The job's 472K. This is the only data that goes across the wire. So that's the compressed PDF. If I didn't have Uniprint and I send that job to my printer here, in this case I have a 4250 HP. Let's take a look at the size of what that raw print job would look like, approximately. I'll go into my printers, into my spool, and check my queue here. There we go. So I have a 5.41 megabyte document. So that would be the typical data going across a WAN, whereas with Uniprint, the document would be only 472 kilobytes going over the wire. Okay, so that's our typical client server deployment scenario. The user connects to a remote a terminal server, a VDI, prints from a home PC with a locally connected printer or an IP-based printer, and sends a job to our universal driver, and that job gets sent to the client. Next, I'll show you our gateway printing, and that's pretty much what we call it. We have printers that appear as network printers. In fact, these printers are actually Uniprint universal drivers. So here's a Dell printer. Let's take a look at the preferences. This is our universal driver. The printer appears as a network printer, and what happens here is all our printers, let's go to my print server here and show you some printers here. When I add a printer to a print server, they get published to the clients through our bridge server technology. Okay, so any print server in the company, once I add a printer here and set permissions, they'll appear on my client workstation. So I have, for this example, I have a Dell printer. Let's go back to my workstation. To a user, it looks like a network printer, and I open up a document, file, print. I'll select that Dell printer, and the job will go across the network to my print server as a compressed job. When it's sent to the printer, it's sent as a PDF. All the drivers are still on the network print server, and on my VDI desktops, I only have one universal driver. Okay. Okay. And the last item I wanted to show you was our compression, our print stream compression. So what we do in this deployment scenario, if an office is a suitable size, I can send all my print jobs to a VPAD at a remote site. And by doing this, I take advantage of compression across the wire. So all I do on my print server, I try to centralize my printers on my print server here in the data center. I add a port, and let me just open that up for you. Properties. And I click on my print ports, configure port, and this is what it looks like. It is a Uniprint transport port, and what this does is allow me to place printers on my print server in the data center, but have the job sent to this device called a VPAD over the wire. So I'm redirecting print jobs so that they're compressed over the wire. Okay. So that is our print stream compression. Let me just get back to the presentation here. Okay, driver management.
All right, we got a couple of questions. Maybe we can just start answering them. So how do you deploy a Uniprint client, John?
Okay, so the Uniprint client can be deployed through a package, MSI package. That could be sent. Typically what we do is, let's say a client's using Citrix receiver, we can actually put our silent MSI inside that package and deploy it to our users who are installing that receiver at home, so that it's part of the package. So we can just throw it in there, or you can give the user simple instructions on how to install that client. It's really simple. There's no configuration. It's just a small 32-bit or 64-bit client, and the only options, which I'll run through a little bit later, are to run it at startup, and whether you want to choose your default printer or have a preview come up.
Okay, that's good. Another question is that what's typically the compression ratio? I can answer that question. This is a very difficult question to answer because it all depends on the file type, and so the compression could be anywhere up to 90%, but I can give everybody on the line that a good example that I always use is one of our customers in the States, and they is a financial company, and they did a benchmark using Uniprint with and without Uniprint in terms of printing. They have a couple operations, one in India, one in Philippines, and they sent a 100-page document printing in India, and it's a VDI situation. Without Uniprint, the time it took was like 4 minutes and 23 seconds, and then with Uniprint, it was only 28 seconds. So I would welcome everybody at the end come to our website and download the software and try it, because it's a very it's not something that I can say, oh, you know what, your file is this, and I can give you the original. Anyway, another question is, do we support Apple Uniprint client? Yes, we do. It's the same as we look at it. It's just like any client, whether it's Apple, Android, whatever. When you can connect to Citrix, you can print from Uniprint. All right. Yeah, I just answered that question too. Android client. So really, is any client anywhere, to print. So anyway, there's another question about, can the remote VPad be a Windows device? Definitely, we can. We'll show you later on in terms of the VPad emulation software. That runs on any Windows PC. That's a very good question. Actually, it's part of our cost savings and so on. But anyway, let's move on. It's 1:16. I want to make sure that we are in time, and any other questions we'll answer later on. So the next challenge that people, and as people can see, you know, this is the biggest challenge in terms of printer driver. It just pulls hair out of most of system administrators and people who look bald at the end of the day usually. But anyway, I'll just talk about it. Let's just say about in a VDI environment or Citrix Server Farm or VMware, you know, there's just a large number of drivers that, you know, people have to manage and add and deleting, and this issue compounded itself if you have a mixed environment, a 32-bit, 64-bit, and then you have printer drivers for 32-bit app, printer driver with 64-bit, and you can imagine how the problem can magnify itself, especially in a large environment with multiple VDI images. And of course, when you have that, that meantime, you know, it just boggles your mind when you have to manage all these multiple printer drivers. Obviously, it is good for us because at Uniprint, we have the universal printer driver. That's why we are in business. Anyway, I just talked about it already. Bad drivers misbehave, causing this environment very, very unstable. And the other one is that, as you saw the demo, you know, the print spool files are very large, and they use up all your resources and so on and so forth. And I'm going to turn it over to John and let him talk about the solution.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, yeah, of course, the solution here is the universal print driver. We add this universal printer driver to the golden image of your desktop. Only one driver requires to be added to the image, and we no longer need to add or remove printers in the master image. It's a one-time job, and it doesn't have to be updated unless we update our software, of course. It's an enterprise class universal print drivers that's gone through rigorous QA testing, so we ensure that it is very stable. And in the client-server version are always in sync, thanks to our management software. Okay, so the last one here, universal print drivers create a PDF print job quickly and efficiently using little system resources as possible. That's a big one, because the time it takes to generate these jobs on your VDI desktops is very, very quick, and that just adds to the user experience to make the job come down to the printer as quickly as possible. Okay, so now I want to get into a little bit of printer management. Okay, a tool we have called PrintPal here is a really good tool to accomplish a few things here. So I'm going to just get into, put down the slides here. Okay, So it's a good tool for managing printers from a network administrator point of view. However, users also have the ability to manage their own printers. So what we do as an administrator with this tool, which I'll demo right after these slides, is have the ability to map printers to users, Active Directory accounts, groups, memberships, connected devices using IP address range, or connected device host names, okay, or a combination of the above. Okay, so every time a user connects to a session from a new endpoint, our software will run and we can create this follow me printing type scenario. So if a user connects to a certain subnet, his printers will change based on where he's connected from. Rule processing is done completely by our PrintPal, meaning that the login time is not affected by your typical group policies having to run down to the client workstations, or as some of you know, Citrix policies take a long time to run, and the process is sometimes slower. But I'll demonstrate later on how quickly it is that printers map. Okay. So next, I'll just talk about the client portion of PrintPal, which we call the PrintPal client. It allows users to manage their own printers, so they can add or remove and change printers. They can change their default printer based on where they are, or they can also override some auto-assigned printers from the PrintPal server. And the nice thing is, a user only sees the printers that they have permission to access. PrintPal management can be run from a VDI or accessed through published applications in the Citrix RDS environment. Okay, now let me show you PrintPal in action. I have a VDI desktop that I'll be connecting to, and this desktop has two different clients. Based on my PrintPal map that I'm going to show you, I'm going to get different printers when I disconnect and reconnect. Okay. So let's bring back my lab and get onto my bridge server and show you our management console. Okay. In this console, I have my PrintPal map, and for this demonstration, I kept it really simple. I have endpoints that are on the first floor and endpoints that are on the second floor. Okay, so on my first floor, I have I'm connecting from a device called UPPS7. Okay, and when I connect from this device, I get my Xerox printer, Xerox 255, and I have it set up as a default for that user when he connects from this device. I move over to the second floor, and I connect from a workstation called Win7, and I should get this printer. Okay, so let's go on up to the second floor. Sorry, wrong tab. Here I am. I'm connecting from a client PC called Win7 on the second floor. Let's take a look at my printers. So right now I'm mapped to this Dell printer. Okay. Now I'll move down to the first floor here, and I will initiate a VDI desktop connection. I get disconnected from my previous session, and when I reconnect, my Uniprint client is going to detect that I'm connecting from a different location. It's going to, I don't know if you noticed that, but what happened was it removed that printer and set me down to my Xerox printer and set it as a default. Now I can go into Word, File, Print, and print to that Xerox printer. Okay, so I'm going to move around because it's one of those days. I'm going to move around to different floors, and I'll connect to that Win7 desktop. And let's take another quick look. PrintPal will check the server and swap the printer for me. Okay. Okay, so that is PrintPal. Let's show you the client portion. Okay, so now this could be locked down based on requirements, but for this demo I have all access open to so that I can manage my own printers. Okay, so let's click on Manage Printers. Here's the list of printers that I've allowed to be published to this user. Okay, I have a refresh button. I have a search button if I have a longer list. But basically from here, I can add printers on the fly, delete printers. So in this case, I'll just right-click here, and I can just double-click on that. and add the printer. Okay. Once I add the printer, I have a few additional options, and these can be customized based on your deployment. I can set it as my default, have the option for you to always add this printer no matter from what computer I log on to or from just this workstation. Click Add, close our control panel there, and the printers are instantly added because the driver already exists. There's no driver to copy over. It's just a reference to our bridge server. Okay, so there's the Konica I just added. And if you look at the properties, it's using our universal driver. Okay. Okay, so that is PrintPal. Let's get back to my presentation here. Second. On to the next slide. Okay, AirPrint. So PrintPal is a powerful tool for network admins and users, but those clients that are not Windows-based, we also support iOS and OS X clients as well. Okay, so we have a module called AirPrint, and typically printing from mobile devices such as iPads, iPhones, and whatever, you name it, iPod touches, if you allow them in your network. We can enable AirPrint printing for any printer on your network, even if it's not AirPrint compatible. We simply take those printers that we publish on our print server, right-click, and make them AirPrint compatible. Okay, so the advantage here is it fully integrates with our solution. We have a module which I'll be talking about a little bit later that secure post printing and archiving. If you're using AirPrint, you can take advantage of those features and monitor all the print jobs and archive all those print jobs from these user devices that they're bringing into the company. And the last thing is on iOS devices, there's no configuration required. As long as they're on the same network, they'll all appear under the printer section. Okay. Okay, next I'm going to talk a little bit about printer profiles. Now, moving to any universal drivers, this will sometimes present to a challenge when utilizing advanced features. And by default, our print driver can do most of the standard features. However, like duplexing, collating, paper trays, those are built into the standard driver. But when it comes to advanced features such as stapling, hole punching, and stacking, we can overcome that by creating a profile, which makes native driver features available to the universal printer. Okay? Printer profiles can also simplify the printing management for the end user, and they do not have to constantly change printer properties or create multiple profiles on the client workstation. So I'm just going to quickly show you that right now. Let's get back, let's go to my print server here and open up my management console. I'm going to show you, in this example, I'll show you a stapling feature that we've set up. Okay, so on my print server, I go into a tool called Printer Profiles, and I will look for the printer that I set up a couple of profiles here. Okay, so I set up 3 profiles. The default profile for this printer when users are connecting to that printer is a mono profile, so they only print black and white and double-sided. Okay, so the other features I've set up is if the user wants to override that mono and double-sided, they can do a high-quality print using the native color that this driver allows them to print. So they can override that, but the default was mono. And the last one is staple a document. So let's take a look at this profile. And what I do is our software creates this profile and goes into the native driver settings where you're allowed as an administrator to customize these one time. Okay, so in this example, I have one staple on the left. All right, I save this profile, and I'll show you where you can select that profile from your client. Okay, so let's get back to my VDI session, and let's just go into my driver here. And show you the tab. So I have a print handling tab here. I have a stapled document in high quality, and the mono, which I mentioned, was a default profile. So I'm going to send a job, and I'm going to select the stapled document. Let's open up Word. File print. Select the HP printer, and under Properties, I select the Print Handling tab and staple the document. Click OK. Hit Print. Sent to my print server. The print server is going to receive that job. Now let's take a look at my printers here. Okay. And there's the job in the queue. Just look at the properties of that job. And there's the option for one staple. So it's that easy for the user to select those advanced features in the driver. Go back to my presentation here. Okay, so I mentioned earlier reporting and archiving. Okay, these are another feature which is great for lots of customers who've been reporting this in some organizations. You can create reports for printing, for print trends across the network, for better planning of hardware and hardware allocation. The data for changing user departments and how much they print. And you can increase security by knowing what a user is printing. In addition to knowing what they're printing, you can actually have a copy of that document that they're printing as a PDF. Since we convert everything to PDF, those documents are captured and stored onto a file share. Of course, this is optional. You don't have to deploy it enterprise-wide. You can target certain desktops or server farms. It's enabled based on the client they're connecting from. Okay. So let's just move on here into secure full printing. Okay.
All right. Just want to clarify, just now when John was talking about the AirPrint module, which is currently in beta. The reason that is in beta is because Apple is making this module go through the certification process. So if any one of you out there is interested to test drive the AirPrint module using iPad so that you can print natively in your corporate network, let us know. So let's just move on. The security challenges. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of, this is a major concern these days in healthcare, financial, everybody, yeah, especially people who are moving around healthcare with mobile cards, lawyers moving from floor to floor. How do you make sure that the printing is secure? How do you make sure that confidential equipment is printed to a printer that you want? And the other way is, how many times do people actually realize that, oh, I print a 100-page or 50-page report, send it to a multifunctional printer, and then walk over there and say, oh, where's my printer? Where's my printer? Oh, somebody took it away by mistake, and so on and so forth. Obviously, that's a challenge. The other one is that, you know, people will, there's always the challenge of workflow, right? Because when you are in an environment, how do you make sure that when you go to your printer, what happens if you're printing in the middle of printing your report, in the middle of printing, it got jammed? You know, what do you do then? How do you redirect of course, the natural way is, oh, I got to go back to the desk, reprint the job. You know, like, how do we address that? How do we save people's time? Anyway, in our secure pull printing solution, we'll show you a new paradigm of printing and how secure pull printing can address all those issues. All right, John?
Okay. So let's have a quick look at how the virtual print queue functions with our VPAD. Okay, so pull printing allows users send jobs to a central holding server, which is held until a user retrieves them at the printing station. So basically, those jobs are in our environment are going to our bridge server. Okay. The VPad is a network device that allows users to authenticate using their badge, security badge, or by entering their name. It comes in 3 different models. One is RFID, the other one's HID, and one is a touchscreen only. Okay, it works independently from the print device. So, in other words, it's vendor agnostic. So we can enable the secure printing for any printer on the market out there. It doesn't have to necessarily be an HP or something that specific. Okay, there's no need for one device per printer. You can basically pool your printers in the printing area and spread a, you can consolidate this to save costs and create a printing area and map multiple printers to a single VPad. Okay, this is what the VPad looks like. Okay. So the device itself has a touch screen, 1 power port, and 2 network ports, so that you can plug your printer into the device and plug the VPad into the wall. Okay. You have the option to send print jobs with a PIN code to ensure that they can, if they've lost their badge, there's a 2-factor authentication. So they can release their job not only using their badge, but using a PIN code. Okay, now that's optional. The other method is just swipe their badge, select their print job and print, or we've also have an advanced feature that allows you just to tap and print your jobs. Okay, it's an intuitive device. Again, as mentioned, it's device agnostic, which allows for flexible deployments and simplified administration. And there's no need to update or change your printing device hardware. So we've all gone as administrators through those cycles where your company is tendering out for new printers, and lo and behold, they've changed the whole infrastructure of printers. We don't have to worry about that. Our secure pull printing will work with any of those devices that come in. Okay, and we'll show you how it saves on cost by eliminating waste and increasing security from jobs just being left there at the printer, or jobs being printed to printers where they shouldn't be going. Okay. So let me just skip to my lab here before we get to this next slide. And I'll open up an emulator so you can see what that screen looks like. Okay. So my emulator's running here. And for demo purposes, I'll be typing in my username. Okay. So let's get on to my VDI desktop and print the job to what we call our virtual print queue. So in this case, we call it Uniprint VPQ. You can name it anything that makes sense for your organization. Out of the box, we're going to name it the Uniprint VPQ. I'll hit File Print. The job will go in that queue and sit there until I pull it from my device. Okay, so I'll walk up to my device. I'm logged into this workstation as John, and so I'm going to authenticate as John. Okay. John authenticates, sees his print job, selects the print job. I can delete it here. I can print it. If I actually sent the wrong job and I wanted a previous job, I can go into my previous printed jobs and select that job instead. But I'll go back to the home screen here and select this job, hit print, and I'm presented the printers that I'm allowed to print to. Again, in this case, we have 2 printers assigned to this VPad device. I can set up 1-to-1 or 1-to-many ratio here. So I'll just send that to my HP Color LaserJet, but I want that stapled, so I'm going to select the profile here and select staple the document, apply it, and hit print. A couple of taps, the print job gets released from our bridge server and down to the print server in this example. Okay, there's my second job that I just released. So that is the virtual print queue. The actual devices are really easy to manage. They are managed from our bridge server here. So I'll just get onto our bridge server so you can see what that looks like. I have a little section on our bridge server called Secure Print. I have my demo VPad here, the virtual one that I'm using right now. And just to give you a quick idea, these are this is how easy it is to add printers. I right-click on that device, add printer, and in this example, I'll add a printer that I don't have here, my Xerox printer. Click OK, and it'll push that printer down to the VPAT. So that'll, for this particular unit on the floor, I didn't have to walk up to it to do any configuration. I did it all remotely from our management console. Okay. I think that was it for the, let me start back to the presentation here.
All right. So actually there was a question about how the VPAT is configured, but you answered the question already. So just so we reiterate what John is saying, the VPAT has 2 Ethernet ports. So it's just like any network appliance. In fact, it's a 7-inch. Unfortunately, we don't have a real picture of that, but maybe next time in our documentation we will do that. Anyway, so I'm going to present. By the way, if you have any other questions, please feel free to submit your questions. And it's now 1:40. We have 20 more minutes, and I have 5 more slides, and we'll just go through this pretty quickly. But it's very important to show you some of the ROI that we're talking about. Some of you may or may not be familiar with these facts and numbers. This is a couple of statistics from Gartner Group and also Quocirca, which is 2012. And it's all about how much printing costs, right? And also how, like for example, their research said if you set duplex printing as a default, you could save up to 30% of printing costs. If you use pull printing, or like what we talked about earlier, like with John, printing to VPQ, and then you pick your print job, and that would reduce your print page volume by up to 20%. So there's also one study about 1,000 user company can easily save $36,000 on paper and printing costs per year, right? And I'm sure some of you know all these numbers, but if you don't, on our website, there's a calculator. You can take a look at that. Anyway, so let's just talk about how we started from the beginning and say how we can help you save money. And if you look at print, there's really 3 cost components, right? The hard costs, meaning paper, toner, that kind of stuff, acquisition. And of course, there's the energy costs, right? Electrical bills and so on. The more, the older your printers, the more electricity you use, or the more printers you use, that's an, print service by itself it costs money, right? And then the other one is technical costs. Tech support, help desk. But these, most end users, organizations, and they don't really realize every time they call support how much it costs them, right? Only the IT manager knows, or IT director knows about that. So these are numbers that we pull from various vendors globally, and companies spend about $800 per year per employee on printing. How do we come up with that? Toner and ink supplies cost per page about 2 cents. And assuming people say, you print about 45 pages, and total daily cost, and that's your yearly cost. And acquisition of printers, service, these are all estimates. And the total yearly cost is about $866 US. And even if you say, you know what, my organization don't print 45 pages on the average per employee. And unless you have the statistics module, you really don't know. But anyway, even if you say that I don't, or we don't, let's say you only do 1/2, you're still looking at more than $400 per year per employee, right? That's a pretty significant hard cost that people and organizations spend on an annual basis. And if you can save 30% of it by using, setting our default, and so here's what we are saying. If you look at secure pull printing, printing on demand, so you don't print to a printer, not knowing where your print output is. So now you basically eliminate your wastage. And one of our features on our VPad, on our PinPal, is about print guard. So you can restrict users not using color printers, for example. As some of you know, color cartridges are very expensive. It could run up to like 17 cents per page. Printer profiles, PrintPal, one of our features, you can set monochrome duplex as a default. And of course, with reporting, you now have real numbers to show. And like we said, Gartner and Coursera show you save 40%, $800, it's $280 per year. Let's say you cut it by half, $140 per year, right? Case number 2, if you use the secure full printing, you consolidate your print stations. As we showed you earlier, the VPad is not a one-to-one ratio, right? It could be one to few. So when you walk into an environment, certain floors, large organizations, they could have 2 or 3 printers clustered together in one area. A multifunctional printer, a monochrome printer, or a color printer, or what have you. And now you can share the printers. So if you can share the printers, instead of like a printer per user, you can have less printers. So of course, if you print less hydro consumption. If you use the VPad as a print server in some remote locations, the VPad is a network appliance, like we said. It's turn on and off. It's easily manageable. You can manage it right from the data center. So you can put all your print servers back to the data center. Guess what? You're going to save a lot of money because the VPad only needs 5 watts of power. It's on and off. It's easy to save. It's easy to manage. All right. Here's another use case. There's a U.S. hospital. We did the study there. The Citrix team estimates that 50% tickets received are printer related. And they said, in the last 12 months, we have 14,028 number of printer related tickets. So let's say, what we reduce, and our experience, by the way, we haven't talked about Uniprint. Who thought Uniprint is? And maybe here I'll give you a 15-second commercial. So the company has been in business for more than a decade. We started in 1999, and we created the PDF Universal Printer Driver. So we have customers who have used Uniprint as just a pure, simple Universal Printer Driver. And they estimate that they reduced the help desk cost by 30%. So we did a calculation. We assumed the weighted average service desk labor cost it actually is $35 per hour, let's say, okay, US dollars. And if you look at this, you do the math very quickly, 30% reduction, you're looking at more than $70,000 cost reduction a year. I mean, that's just a typical example. If you add up all the 3 cases together, you know what? You can look at the ROI for Uniprint. You look at the hard cost saving, the energy saving, the technical cost saving. You can, depending on organization, you're looking at, the return on investment, which, by the way, your managers, your CFO would really love you to justify your investment on Uniprint. And you can show all these numbers, and they said, hey, Uniprint pays itself within a year. Now it's a no-brainer. Now, if you have any more questions, please do so. You can go to our ROI calculator and take a look at that. And by all means, go to uniprint.net and download the software. There's a question here by, hey, how do I try the software? Well, you try the software by downloading the software. Go to the uniprint.net. It's free. Okay, download the software, try it out. Our technical support team is online 5 days a week from 6 a.m. EST time to 7 p.m. EST time, Mondays to Fridays. Again, the download and the trial is free. And any other questions? Do we see any questions anymore? Well, if not, that I want to, we got 10 minutes to spare. I want to thank everybody attending this webinar. Look forward to talking to you on the individual cases. And we're going to send a survey, and we welcome any feedback, what we can help you in terms of solving your printing headache. Thank you very much for attending. Again, goodbye. Bye-bye. So can you show the stats? Do you have a typical example? Sure. Thank you for the question. Otherwise, I would have hit the end button and we would have missed it. But anyway, so yeah, on the statistics, we have a module. It's actually, you could create reports. It's just a database. And I'll let John talk about it.
Basically, this is the information we gathered here. We have the important information is user ID and the document name, and as well as the number of copies, page count, duplex, color, settings, etc., and the date and time the job was sent. So this is exactly what we gather, and it's all in the spreadsheet right now. Hope that answers your question.
All right. Again, we are here. You can just send any questions, sales@uniprint.com, .net, I should say, and we could definitely look at everybody's individual challenge and see how we could save your money. And all right. Thank you very much. Bye.